We're here now in the new year, 5783. And the question I've been thinking about as this new year's begun is, what are our goals? What do we hope to accomplish this year? We probably each have different goals, personal goals, professional goals. Globally, there are different goals I imagine we have as well. There's all sorts of concerns, things to worry about, from the environment, climate change, homelessness. We know also that evil exists in our world. We can see it in the local news. We can see it when we see the war in Ukraine. We see the results in the refugee crisis. And while we've helped many here in the West, there are still many more. It seems that there's a never-ending list of problems, of issues in the world, things on our to-do list. There's simply too much to do. So we think about what it is we want to accomplish this year, what our goals are. Sometimes it's hard to even take that first step, to even begin, because it seems so daunting. The number of emails in our inbox, the issues that we face as a world. So in the face of all of this, I'm reminded of an expression, a teaching from Rabbi Tarfon in Pirkei Avot. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor velo ata ben chorin levatel mimena. It's not your job, your responsibility to finish all of the work, but neither are you free to desist from it entirely. None of us has to finish and accomplish everything, but none of us is free to sit around and do nothing. I think that's important advice for this year. But even with that advice, sometimes it's hard for me to really imagine that we can do anything. There is so much to do. And how do you begin a task knowing that you're not going to be able to finish it? That you're only able to do a part of it? That you're not going to accomplish everything that you want to do? It's difficult. But we have an important lesson from it in our Parsha. I'm paraphrasing a bit here, verses 49 and 50 of chapter 32. But Moses has led the people. He's gotten them all the way to the edge of the promised land, and what does God say? And I'm paraphrasing. Go up the mountain and die. You're not going to go in. You don't get to lead them in. You're not going to finish this task. You can only begin to imagine how difficult that moment would be. But if it was me, I'd be pleading with him. I still have work to do. My job is not yet finished. I was supposed to lead the people, but I'm supposed to leave them now here in the wilderness, right at the edge, right at the cusp. Moses, though, is strangely quiet in our Parsha. And the rabbis in the Midrash, they add a bit to it. They share with us, putting in a bit of the conversation that might have taken place. They imagine him imploring God to reconsider. Ribono shel olam, master of the universe, let me not be like a man who's planned his only child's wedding celebration, only to be summoned to the king's court and informed of my immediate execution. I raised the people. I brought them out of Egypt. I taught them your Torah. I built them a Mishkan for your sake. And just now, as we're about to cross into the Jordan River to take possession of the land, I'm told I should die. Please, God, please let me cross the Jordan River, and then willingly I'll go. This Midrash imagines Moses begging and pleading with God to let him finish his task. And it works with the traditional understanding. Why wasn't Moses allowed to go into the land? What's it everyone's been taught? Shout it out. He sinned. What was his sin? He killed somebody. Okay, that's one explanation, right? We're going back to Egypt and the Egyptians. Right, oftentimes, what's the other sin that it's attributed to? He struck the rock. Rather than speaking to it, he struck the rock. But we always see Moses not being allowed into the land of Israel. We're taught that it's some kind of a punishment, right? It's the result of some action, something wrong that he did, and the rabbis go through and they struggle with, right, what was so bad about hitting the rock? Right? Killing the Egyptians, that was to save somebody. And they come up with all sorts of different reasons and explanations. But there's actually another rabbinic understanding of this, that it wasn't about a sin at all. I just shared one midrash with you where he's begging and he's pleading. But there's another midrash, in Midrash Rabbi. They put in this event in this story. God tells Moses to go up the mountain and die. And Moses says to God, asking, please, let me go into the land. And God says, Iyatayachol, you can't. Why? Hizeh kol ha'adam. This is the fate of all human beings. It's simply his time. Our lives are finite. The work we can do is finite. And Rabbi Scheiheld points out that this midrash, the focus shifts dramatically. It's not about the sin. His death on the mountain is not about him having done anything wrong. It's simply the time. It's simply what's supposed to happen. At some point, all of us find a day where even though our to-do list is not done, the tasks, our goals, whatever we've set out to do is incomplete, there's a day where we simply can't do more. It's the fate of all humanity, God says. So that's the question then. How do we deal with that? How does Moses deal with that? So in that midrash, he accepts it. He recognizes that even though he cannot complete everything, he's done his part. And he carries out God's final command with a quiet resolve, with a dignity. He doesn't know what the future will bring. Will the Israelites successfully get into the land? Will they conquer its inhabitants? Will they hold fast to God's teaching and continue to follow God? Or will they sin? Will they turn away? Moses doesn't know. But he knows that he cannot complete the task. He knows he cannot lead the people forever, and at some point, he has to step aside. He's done his best, all that he could do, and the day comes. So bringing it back into our own worlds and our own lives. This year, we might have many different goals. Perhaps we have professional goals, things we want to accomplish in our career. Perhaps we have personal goals. We want to lose weight, we want to eat healthier, we want to get in shape. Maybe we want to take up a new hobby or a new skill. Maybe we want to finally get through some of those books that are sitting on our to-read list, or watch a little bit less Netflix. Maybe we want to deepen our relationships with our partners, our spouses, with our children, or with our parents. We want to be involved more in the community. Maybe we want to tackle some of the major issues that are facing our world and our city and our community. Maybe it's the issues that are facing the Jewish people. There's so much to do that sometimes it's hard to even get started. But as we begin this new year, I think there's a lot we can learn from Moses. And even knowing that he would never finish his task, he still did all he could to accomplish as much as he could when he had the time. Or in the teaching and words of Rabbi Tarfon, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, v'lo ata ben chorin levatel mimena. It's not your responsibility to finish the work, but neither can you desist from it. As we look to this next year, 5783, I ask that God, Ribono Shel Olam, that you help us individually to start the things on our to-do list, to give us the strength and the courage to approach it, even if we know we can't do everything. And as a community, to do the work that's necessary to fix the problems in our society and to address the ones that we can, even if we can't address them all. And that together, 5783 can be a special year, a great year. Shabbat Shalom.